You know that feeling when you worry about your bank details getting stolen or someone reading your private messages? Well, you're thinking about cybersecurity. And there's a fundamental blueprint that protects our entire digital world. It's called the CIA Triad. And honestly, it's the security foundation you really need to understand. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first. When you hear CIA, your mind probably jumps straight to spies and secret agents, right? And look, that's cool. But in the world of cybersecurity, we're talking about something totally different, though still just as critical for protecting secrets. The CIA Triad stands for Confidentiality, Integrity, and Availability. You can think of these as the three golden rules of cybersecurity. Seriously, they're the pillars that hold up pretty much every security decision and system you use every single day. And as you're about to see, getting them to work together is a constant balancing act. All right, let's kick things off with this C, confidentiality. At its heart, this is all about keeping secrets, well, secret. It's about making absolutely sure that private information stays private. So the main goal here is to prevent anyone who shouldn't have access from getting it and to stop data from leaking into the wrong hands. The best analogy? It's like a digital locked safe. Only the people with the right key or the right combination should be able to open it and see what's inside. Simple as that. So how do we build that digital lock? Well, we've got a few key methods. We use encryption, which is just a fancy way of saying we scramble data into unreadable code. We also use access controls, and you use these every day, things like passwords or that multi-factor authentication code you get on your phone. And for bigger organizations, there's data classification, which is basically just creating different security levels for different files, making sure only the right people have the right permissions. And here's a perfect practical example. Imagine a company has super sensitive financial documents. They can encrypt them. That way, even if a hacker manages to steal the file, all they get is a useless jumble of nonsense without the specific decryption key. And that key? It's only given to authorized employees. That's how you keep data confidential. Okay, so we've locked our data down. It's confidential, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. What if an attacker couldn't read your bank balance, but they could secretly change it? Yikes! That's exactly where our second pillar comes in, integrity. What this all boils down to is preventing anyone from messing with your data without permission. You have to be 100% certain that the message you sent is the exact same message that was received, or that the file you saved last week hasn't been secretly tweaked since then. So how do we guarantee this? We use some pretty clever techniques. First up is something called hashing. It creates a unique digital fingerprint for data, so you can see it turns a document into this complex string of letters and numbers. Now here's the magic. If even one single pixel in that document changes, the entire fingerprint changes completely. We also use digital signatures to prove the source is who they say they are, and tools like version control to track every single change that's ever made. Here's a real-world example you've probably seen. When you go to download software, sometimes you'll see this long string of characters called a hash on the website. You can actually run a check on the file you downloaded to see if your hash matches the one on the site. If they match, you know for sure that the file is authentic and hasn't been infected with malware on its way to you. All right, so our data is secret and we know it's accurate. We're totally secure, right? Well, not quite. What good are perfectly safe and true secrets if the system is down and you can't actually get to them when you need them? This brings us to the A, availability. The goal here is simple: prevent downtime and make sure everything just keeps working. It's all about making sure your data and the systems that process it are up and running for the right people whenever they need to get in. And we make this happen through some really smart strategies. Things like redundancy, which just means having duplicate systems ready to take over if the main one fails. Of course, regular backups are absolutely essential. And to fight back against attacks, we use technologies like DDoS protection, which can shield a service from getting overwhelmed by a flood of malicious traffic designed to knock it offline. You know, even simple, regular maintenance plays a huge part. Just think about your favorite streaming service or your cloud storage. Those companies are under constant attack. They maintain availability by using things like load balancing, which spreads all the incoming traffic across a bunch of different servers. That way, even if one part of their system is struggling, the service as a whole stays up and accessible to you. So, there you have it, our three pillars: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But like we've been hinting at, they don't just work on their own. They form this cohesive, interconnected foundation for any good security plan. This table is a great little summary. Confidentiality is all about preventing unauthorized access. Integrity prevents unauthorized modification, and availability prevents downtime. You can really see how each one tackles a different but equally important threat to your information. And this right here is the most critical takeaway of all. These three principles are in a constant balancing act. A system that's incredibly confidential but is always offline, it fails the availability test. A system that's always up but lets anyone change the data, it fails the integrity test. A failure in any one of these pillars can really cause the entire security structure to just crumble. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. When you think about your own digital life, your photos, your emails, your financial data, which pillar is the most critical to you? Is it keeping them secret? Is it making sure they're accurate? Or is it just knowing you can always get to them? Thinking through that balance is really the first step to taking control of your own digital security. Thanks for tuning in.